All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mortgage Coach 10X Tuesday. Every Tuesday morning for over 15 years, I've been interviewing amazing mortgage professionals. Usually it's top producer interviews, although sometimes I'll interview authors and industry coaches, industry leaders. Today, I've got one of America's top mortgage advisors. Dan Keller is not a loan officer. He is a data-driven mortgage advisor who's built quite the brand for himself in the Seattle, Washington marketplace. And then we have a coach, someone that he's been coaching with for quite some time, Chad Cooley. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
I just
Dave,
told you a minute ago, Dave.
Dave, I feel like you're like the Joe Rogan of mortgage podcasts. So if anytime you want to talk about aliens or DMT, feel free to do so. But this is really good stuff, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, maybe we'll talk about aliens today. If anybody wants to go completely Joe Rogan off the grid, just give us a thumbs up and maybe we'll go there. So Mr. Keller, you had invited Chad to join us. What was your why? Why did you think it was important to have Chad on today's call?
Yeah, there's two big reasons. One, I asked him for 15 minutes of his time, and I'm hoping that it looks like he's early, so he may be giving us all, 30 to 45 minutes. But two reasons. The first thing, when I first met Chad, so Chad's a sales coach, best sales coach I have ever talked to, seen, listened to, and I've worked with Chad now for about a year. And I absolutely love his approach to sales. But prior to him coaching real estate professionals, he manages a group of about 750 real estate agents in his group. But prior to that, he was one of us. And he spent a lot of time in a call center. He spent a lot of time on the phone, hunting down refinances. And so I figured who better to have on here with us as we talk about my refinance rate tracker, but to have Chad Cooley. And then at the end, the other reason why I wanted Chad on is because I think we all learned, from the last refinance boom, some mortgage loan officers completely neglected their real estate purchase business and ended up paying for it in 2022 and 2023, having to reinvent themselves. And let's not have lightning strike the same spot twice. And so having Chad come in near the end to talk about really a skill set that he has taught me, and a skill set that he's teaching hundreds of loan officers across the country now on how to call real estate agents, how to get meetings with real estate agents, and then how to deliver 10x value to real estate agents. And I just figured it'd be super fitting for today's call, Dave.
Cool. So let's do this. So from a show clock perspective, if this was a football game, we're 5 minutes into Q1. Q4 is going to be script training on how to get meetings with realtors. That's really going to be you and Chad. And I actually have to jump to another webinar. So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump out at that point and let you guys just rock out training. I invited you, Dan, to this call because first of all, you consistently are one of the top 10 interviews of the year. So anytime Dan Keller's in the headline, a lot of people are going to show up to that. But that's not why I interviewed you or I wanted you. A lot of people show up because it's on point and it's on market, and it's some of the best content on point on market. And we're in a shift. We're in a shifting market. Rates are coming down. NAR settlement is out. I don't remember who I heard say this, but I've been just obsessing over mortgage professionals need to help real estate agents turn contacts into contracts. And that contact, hey, if I've got someone in my database that's a prospect that I have a conversation with, I'm either trying to turn them into a buyer's agreement, a contract, I'm trying to turn them into a listing agreement, contract, or I'm trying to get something under escrow. It's all about contacts to contracts. And I thought, dude, Dan Keller, how are you balancing refi opportunities with that? Before I just start asking you questions on that, and I actually have a question for Chad before I go to you, but how is production right now? How is your loan production? How's volume? How are things going in your market?
Yeah, great summer. Had an incredible summer. I think we got back into the mid upper teens finally, which is great. I also am in leadership.
And by the way, does that mean over 10 million in monthly production? What does that mean?
In unit production and then monthly, yeah, as well. And so I manage 2 branches, and then I also have leadership job description in our region. We have about 82 loan officers, and so I got distracted over the last couple of years, like a lot of loan officers did, and got into recruiting and got into a lot of leadership type stuff that took time away from production. I'm reading a book right now and studying a book called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And it really just kind of helped simplify things for me. And this is super fitting for today's call, 10X Tuesday, that book. And it really caused me to focus on what's important. What's important for me as an industry leader is to lead by example, and that's production. And so, yeah, I started back in May. I went all in, just said, hey, listen, the branches are doing good. I'm going back to hitting the streets with real estate agents. And obviously, I've not taken the foot off the gas with homebuyer classes. We've got one tomorrow night. I think we have 58 RSVP'd. So homebuyer classes, leveraged events. But yeah, summer was great.
Good. So just to net it out and correct any numbers I have, closing over 10 loans a month, have a leadership role with over 80 loan officers. So, producing leader, balancing, and I like to think of it as recruiting realtors, training realtors, and retaining realtors, and then balancing that with recruiting loan officers, training loan officers, and retaining. Like you're balancing those two things, and obviously closing loans at scale. So before I just start asking you questions on how you're navigating this market, Chad, I noticed you got a shirt that says 729 culture.
729 culture.
What's that mean?
So we run a very intense training call every single morning at 7:30 called the Breakfast Club, and it's geared towards how do we give agents the autonomy to go out there and create business every single day. It's one of the reasons why we've got agents who are brand new in the business, 30 days in, taking 5 listings a month, right? That starts at 7:30. And so our mantra is that we do everything better than everybody else, right? We execute at a higher level. So if the Breakfast Club starts at 7:30, it's like we're there, ready to go, prepared at 7:29, right? That's important. And also, I read somewhere that the number 729 actually has a meaning, which is anything worth achieving, anything worth having is achieved through hard work and discipline. So apparently I'm not going to get spiritual, but there's some meaning in the numbers too, which kind of coincided with what we do. And it's something that we repeat every single day. It's 729 culture. I'm not here to take part. I'm here to take over. And I'm here to do 2 things with excellence, which is get better at my job than I was the day before with my skill set, and execute professionally when it comes to my prospecting and my lead gen. Those 2 things will lead you to be a top producer in your marketplace, regardless of your business.
I love that. I have always lived by the win by noon mantra, but this year I came up with my focus phrase is obsessed with impact. And in terms of my personal protocols to be healthy, to be vibrant, it was win by 7. And so I've been really focused on having that done by 7. Hey, one thing before I hit you, Dan, there's a new assessment out. You can go to, I'll put a link down below. And actually, if you go to savageinsights.com, you can take the modern mortgage advisor assessment and see where you stack up. But when I heard you describe this, there's all these different pillars of what would be a modern mortgage advisor. And one of the things I thought when I heard you talk is that, one, from a mindset standpoint, to do everything that you said and to have that intention, you're going to have a winning mindset for the day. From a leadership perspective, you're not only leading yourself, but like Dan is leading others. And then when I think of sales IQ, a modern sales IQ, like when are they getting their prospecting done? I mean, it sounds like you're like getting ahead of prospecting rhythms. When are you, call it, crushing your prospecting goals, or what do you recommend to loan officers?
So we've done the power hour, right? So get in the office in the morning, you got your team meeting, and that typically ends around 9 o'clock. And then I give about a 30-minute buffer. So by 9:30, 10 o'clock every single day until 12:30 or 1, sometimes until it gets done, is green time, power hour, whatever you want to call it, is prospecting time.
So by noon, you win by noon, and
By
if
noon.
it takes longer to win by noon, you got to win by noon. But
Yep.
what have you done by 7:30 or 7:29? Like, what's the 7:29
Yeah.
number?
So I think I texted you a few years ago, and I had this mantra in my life called 3 wins by 7. And my 3 wins by 7
That's where I may have
was,
got it from, bro.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing was go to the gym. The second thing was while I was at the gym doing something, whether it be cardio, I can't really listen to podcasts while I'm lifting. I got to have some music. But while I'm warming up doing cardio, I've got a podcast or something good going into my ears. And then number 3, I bring my wife coffee in bed every morning before
That's
7.
right.
So those are
That's
my
right.
3
So,
wins. Now, if I do that, bulletproof.
all right. So anyone listening to this, what are your 3 wins by blank? Share that in chat, or by the way, just write it down for yourself. Get really clear on what do you need to do to win by. For me, it's 7. Dan for 7. Cooley, for you, it looks like it's 7:29.
Hey, Dave, I do my first breakfast club. That's actually, so I do it on different time zones. We've got an Eastern Standard Time breakfast club, which for me is like 4:30 in the morning. Then we do another one at 5:30 a.m. for our Central Time people. And then we do another one, our big one for our Pacific Standard Time. It's just making the right decision. The first right decision of the day is so hard, but it's the most important one. You make that first right decision, the next one is likely to follow.
Got it. Hey, love that. By the way, you see all the hearts. Keep the reactions coming. If you guys have questions for these guys, bring it in. So we are right at the close of the second quarter. Dan, here's the first question. So rates are coming down. From what I'm hearing in the street, people are starting to see some rate and term refis. I think that's what started your whole rate tracker conversation. So I want to hear but I want to hear the balance, because when I interviewed Daniel well, actually I did interview him. Jeremy interviewed Daniel. He did a Tuesday takeover last week. And throughout that interview, Daniel talked a lot about, I'm going to get ahead of it with rate and term refis. But I also see this as really an opportunity to lean into the purchase market. Tom Ferry called it out when I was with him. He said, get ready for all the mortgage professionals to stop calling real estate agents and just focus on refis. And so I almost see it like it's a dual opportunity. There's a refi opportunity, and there's also a double down on realtor opportunity. What's Dan Keller doing?
Well, that's why I've got Chad Cooley here, and Chad's helped me a lot with adding more value, to real estate agents. So a year ago, when I had to get back to actually cold calling real estate agents, something I thought I was too good to do or beyond doing, I got connected with Chad, and he taught me a way. And so I think right now it's so important, like what Daniel said on his most recent interview, that there's an opportunity right now. He's always looking for opportunities. The opportunity right now is not low interest rates for refinances. That's what we do for a living. And if you have a good business, if you have a CRM, if you're running a mortgage practice, those opportunities, the refinances are there. You should be doing that. The opportunity in this market is what Tom Ferry said: watch the loan officers migrate to the apples that are on the ground, the low-hanging fruit. And the ones that do what Chad Cooley is going to show us at the very end today, and we're going to talk about, you get very, very consistent on calling real estate agents. You get intentional in calling real estate agents, and you know what to say when you call them, and you have a value proposition to give them. You're going to stand out like a sore thumb over the next couple of years. And then the majority of those loan officers that are chasing refinances are going to come back in a couple of years, and they're going to be 2 years behind us.
Got it. Did you, I don't know how much of the Daniel Jeremy interview you heard, but there was a whole conversation around, one, and I think your rate tracker is, let's get ahead of this with clients and have a rate that we're going to do it at. And then 2, Jeremy, some people were like, well, should I wait for him to go lower? And Jeremy was using MortgageCoach to almost show like, hey, look what you can lock it in with. And then he's really scheduling the next refi. When rates come down, he called it future casting, the future cast refi. Are you doing that, or how are you handling those conversations with clients around who just want to wait for the bottom?
Yeah, I think you guys, and this is I don't want to say a slippery slope, but this is where it's going to take a little bit of intelligence and planning. I am telling clients right now that I believe we're going to be in a two-tier refinance market, a
Okay,
two-tier
so you're
refinance
setting that
market.
expectation right
I'm
away.
setting it right now in the conversation. And I learned this from Chad Cooley. The questions that I'm asking my clients is, we're saving you 700. The TCA I'm going to show in a minute is saving my client almost $700 a month. We need to jump on that. They're at a 7.25. I can drop them to 6.25. Let's table that. What if we're all wrong? And what if 6.25 is the best we get? What if 5.875 is the best we get? Okay. And so I'm having this conversation with all of my clients that my job is to manage your mortgage. That's why we're having the conversation today. I believe I can save you some money. Here's the report. Let's have a discussion around which option is best for you, the 30-year fixed, the 20-year fixed, the 15-year fixed, or would you like to pull some cash out? Okay, so we're having that conversation. In that conversation, though, I'm talking about this is a two-tier refinance market. And what I mean by that is I'll ask them a question. Do you think that rates will go lower in the next couple of years? Do you think you'll refinance this mortgage more than once? And I want to get their buy-in. I want to get them to say, yeah, I do. I believe so. What do you think, Dan? And then that's when I go back to the reason why I told you that I believe this is a two-tier market is because we don't know the depth of this recession. We don't know what's going on. I can tell you statistically how things are going to look, but I don't want to be wrong. Okay. And so I can save you over a percentage point, a full percentage point right now, $800 a month. Let's go ahead. Let's refinance you right now. Let's get you a new mortgage with a new strategy, and we'll go from there. And so I am teeing that up right now.
Got it. So you're calling it, you're literally saying, hey, this is a two-tier refi market. And then you're showing a refi. Are you showing the power of prepaying? What if you took that savings and prepaid your mortgage? Is that a standard move or something you do sometimes?
Yeah. And so the second level TCA that I'll send with them, this is what we can edit this on our mortgage planning call. The initial TCA that I send them gives them, and I'm not changing up any strategy that I did during the last refi boom because it worked so good. It was pick a plan. And so I'm sending them. So here's the other thing too. The 10X is easier than 2X book. I'm not sending these emails. My team is doing this. My team is making the TCAs. I'm focused during 9 o'clock to 6 p.m., 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on taking good care of my real estate agents, taking good care of my buyers, doing leveraged events. And so the refinances that are coming in, there's a process that I've built. My team is building out these TCAs. They're sending them the reports. And then in the email is a TCA, a savings report with 4 options, and then a link to my Calendly. So it's super efficient. So now I just show up to calendar events and I know that it's this borrower, here's the TCA, and here's what they want from their email.
Got it. So your team, you've delegated it for them to set up a 4-option mortgage coach experience, forward that to the client with a link to schedule. And so they're doing a lot of the work and just teeing you up. Love that. And then, and by the way, in a minute, I'm going to want you to show that. But before I do that, what is your vision on how you're going to balance your time between, refis and realtors, refis and realtors? How is that balance going to take place in your mind, and any strategies you want to describe?
Yeah, it's kind of the same adage that I took during 2020, 2021. Refis are overtime. If I'm working on refinances, it'll be overtime. It'll be after hours. And obviously during business hours, if they book a Calendly meeting with me, that's an appointment. And that's a face-to-face with a client, which is big. But me actually in the trenches, working on the TCA reports, pricing out these loans, can I do those? Yes. Have I done them in the last month or so? Yes. But as I built out this refinance rate tracker program, it's designed to get my message out. Okay, the message on the market, opportunities, and strategy out to my clients, because again, my number one job is to manage their mortgage, get that information out. That comes from me. That comes from my email. That's my video. When they respond to that video via email, they automatically go onto a list. That's my refinance rate tracker. Okay, so these are people that are saying, hey, Dan, you have my attention and I'm ready. Okay. So those are automatic. Those people are automatically going onto that list. And now my team, I've met with my team. Here's the email that goes out. Here's what we need from them. Great. We need a copy of your most recent mortgage statement, and we'll get you some options to look at. And there's a couple of questions in that response. And then we send them the TCA with the Calendly invite. And so they can manage that so that I can focus on what I'm supposed to be focusing on, keep the main thing, and that's working with real estate agents.
Got it. And just going from many interviews I did during the last refi market, among some of the most successful market leaders in different markets, and multiple mortgage coaches were doing this, is realtors first. Everybody had that, refis are overtime. And do want to remind people, I would love your opinion on this, because I like where you're kind of like delegating as like a first pass. But I mean, there's going to be some great clients and some great refis that they didn't get the email, they didn't get the memo. And what I had a lot of loan officers do last time is they would add a video to the mortgage coach after hours. You know, they hit their purchase business first, and then they would text it. And sometimes it's like, hey, I want to make sure that you got this savings alert.
Yeah.
And really, you know, do you want to save $700 a month? Or do you want to reduce your term by 7 years and save 100,000? Like, just really quick things in text. And sometimes I would hear reports where people were just responding, give me A, give me B, or let's have a quick call and net this out. Any thoughts on that, where as kind of a second pass with some of your best refis that you're putting a video on it and you're kind of, you're nudging the customer and you're netting it out? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So we've got my database. Okay. The video goes out every single week that I make to them, and it's my refinance rate tracker update. That's it. And I have got a program. I launched it. I think I'm on my fifth or sixth video now, and I send them out weekly. And it's just a real quick update, and then maybe a why people are refinancing, or maybe a story of a refinance that I recently did. So that's kind of like, that's the shotgun approach. Anyone that replies to that goes on the refinance rate tracker. Now, second to that is a list that we have where we have anyone with a 5.875 30-year fixed rate or higher is on that list. And then I'm specifically attacking that list as well. That's more deliberate. So the ones that are not responding from, you know, my main blast, we're going and we're focusing on that. Now that's more, I'm reaching out via email. My team is on my behalf, but we're reaching out via email. And then we've got an email, a call, and a text campaign. And most of these people I've done annual mortgage reviews with, so I've got their attention already. We already have an idea on where rates need to be for us to pull the trigger on them.
Okay, cool. Hey, Chad, Cooley, any comments you have from what you've heard so far before?
I think it should be like a two-tiered thing, right? I think obviously refinances are going to be a jolt in your business and in your pocketbook at the end of the day, and you have to set aside a solid prospecting time. I mean, you've got the data and everything else like that with Mortgage Coach. It's like, are you going to spend an hour a day actually physically prospecting? I think the problem with technology for a lot of our industry, mortgage and real estate, is it's kind of like what Tinder has done to young men. Like, they don't even know how to talk to girls with their mouths anymore because technology is just there, right? AI is doing the job for you. And I think that no matter what we do, there's got to be an emphasis on leveraging the information, like something as awesome as Mortgage Coach, leveraging that information and actually going out there and prospecting and talking to people with your mouth, right? Because it's not always like the $700 a month that's attractive. A lot of what's attractive is like what you could do with that $700 a month and how that could affect your family's financial future. And that sometimes requires more of a conversation than an email, but you've got the information. Set aside some prospecting time and do that, and set up a system where you've got agents still working for you on the seller side too. And part of like what Dan and I have been talking about lately is, like, if we're smart on the lending side, then what we're doing is we're creating lead generation machines in our real estate agents, and they're going out there and they're prospecting every day and they're bringing us business. How many agents do you have that are prospecting on your behalf, right? Creating business for you while you're taking that time to do the refi business, right? It's all about scheduling and making sure, like, what am I prioritizing in my business right now? What time am I allocating to that? And does that make sense for what my biggest need is right now? But you got to work on your present, your right now, which for some of you guys might be the refi business. But if you're not working on your future every single day and still building that out, you sleep on a win and you wake up with a loss, as Conor McGregor would say, right? And so you got to do those two things in tandem.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say before, Dan, I'd love for you to show one of your refis, is I want everybody to hear what I'm going to say really closely. Like, if you are not doing refis at scale and doing it very strategically, you are not a client for life loan officer. Like, it's really simple. Like, it's not just about the money and it's about helping people save money, helping people achieve owning a home with financial freedom. So put the love into, you can save money, and look at how you could actually pay off your house faster and achieve financial freedom faster. Hey, or would you rather invest that money in an investment account and achieve financial freedom faster? And then remember, guys, this is also an incredible time that, you know how they might be able to achieve financial freedom faster is by moving up. Like, do the refi and move up. Like, this is an important time to lean into your customers and let them know that, hey, my number one goal is your sustainable home ownership and your financial freedom with real estate. And so it's an important time to have that strategic conversation, because many of these people should be moving up. Some of these people should be consolidating debts. Some of these people should be consolidating all their debts, selling their home, taking all their chips off the table, and moving up, and maybe saving net money. So this is a big opportunity to actually be a client for life mortgage advisor. All right. So Dan, let's see what you got, and then
Yeah.
a few more questions before we go freestyle with Cooley.
Yeah. Hey, before I show this, you guys, I think your what you say, your words matter so much. So every call that I'm having with a client right now, a past client, I'm asking them a question. I'm telling them 3 things that I've learned from working with thousands of homeowners or home buyers. And then I'm getting their feedback. The question that I'm asking everyone right now, and this tees up my advice, Dave, and you guys, I think this is genius. They've already got the report. We're on the call, whether it's a Zoom or face-to-face, and I'll ask them as small talk, did you learn anything, or do you have any ahas coming out of this last market that we've been in over the last 5 or 6 years? And the reason why I ask that, Dave, is the feedback that I'm getting right now is, yeah, I should have bought more real estate when rates were low. Yeah, I should have invested in crypto. Yeah, I should have invested in blank, right? I'm getting a lot of that. And I'm listening to them, and then I'll say at the end, I'll say, you know what? Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot from my clients. The reason why I asked that question is we're just in a cycle. Okay, so the economy is a cycle, the market's a cycle. And so what would you do differently if you could do 2020 all over again? And they're basically telling me as a mortgage advisor how I can best assist them. I would have bought more real estate. I would have bought an investment home. I would have invested more. Now we can have a conversation around those 4 options that I'm going to show you right now, which one I think is going to work best for them, because I think there's 2 different types of people out there. In fact, I know there's 2 different types of people out there. There's people that don't want to invest because they're afraid of it. And there's people that want to invest because they know the benefits and they're willing to take the risk. And so if I have clients that, and I can see this from their 401k, I can see this from their investment accounts, I can see that they don't have any other properties, I can see that they really don't want to invest, then I'm going to throw out, I think a 15-year fixed rate mortgage could be the best option for you. Since you're not taking your savings every single month and investing it, if we took a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, you'll own your home free and clear in 15 years. Okay, so there's your pile of wealth right there. You can do whatever you want with it at that time. The other clients that are willing to invest or wish they would have invested more, now we can have a conversation about, hey, we're saving you $800 a month. What are we going to do with that money? What are your plans with that money? What can I do to help you get that money to double? I learned something about 8 years ago from a mentor, and he said, figure out a way to take every dollar you earn and quadruple it. Just figure out a way. And if you thought about every dollar you earned, about quadrupling every dollar you earned, and you might not quadruple it, but you might double it. What if you doubled every dollar you earned? You know, and so you're getting your money to work for you. So we're having these conversations. And then I always throw this out there too. There's 3 things that I've learned in helping thousands of people. Number 1, I believe, and I learned this from you, Dave, this is Mortgage Coach, and I say it, and this is why I love this community. I believe everyone wants to be debt-free. I believe everyone, number 2, I believe everyone wants to own their home free and clear one day. And number 3, I believe everyone wants to retire financially free. And so when we have that conversation, we're keeping the main thing, which is their wealth, their future, what you would have done different. What you would have done different ties into what we're going to do now. So let's take advantage of this opportunity, and then we jump right into that report. So I like that strategy a lot better than, hey, I've got 4 options for you. Which one would you like? This is an option. This is an opportunity to have a conversation. And through that conversation with your client, they're guiding us on how we can best advise them versus us just giving them advice.
Yeah, I just wrote this down, and I'm going to create a piece of micro content from what Dan just did, but I'm calling it Dan Keller's financial freedom value proposition and scripting. And where he, you know, he leaned in and framed it in a much bigger way. So I love that, brother. So why don't you share a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis, just so we show people how you're delivering a Mortgage Coach to folks. And this looks like kind of your standard one that your team is putting together. And this is, think of this as just the first tier, you know, like, hey, we're going through, we're identifying everyone that this would have value. And this is Dan's first tier Mortgage Coach. Okay.
Yeah. This is just perspective, you guys. If you got this, if you owned a home and your mortgage professional sent this to you, you'd see that your property is worth about 1.3, you owe about 800. And here are 4 options to look at. It's which one makes the most sense to you? I love Cooley taught me this. Which one makes the most financial sense to you? And so once they identify, and it kind of gives them an idea that there are some options out there. Most people think about when they refinance, it's a new 30-year mortgage. We're going to reset the term. I'm going to get a lower rate and I'm going to save $700 a month, but they don't realize they're resetting the term. They don't realize that there's other options out there. And so this is a great, again, it's just going to move us in the right direction. So, you know, let's say they say, hey, Dan, I'm really interested in option number 1, saving $700 a month. Great. So then from there, we can go and we can have a conversation like we had a minute ago, Dave. I can talk with them about paying extra money a month and knocking off 7 years or knocking off 10 years or maybe doing a reduced term. But if they're not interested in that, I'm going to have a conversation with them. Okay, you're saving $700 a month based off of your credit report. There's no debt to pay off. What are we going to do with that $700? Have you shared this report yet with your financial planner? What does your financial planner say? If they said they don't have a financial planner, it's an opportunity to meet for me to refer. If they have a financial planner, I want to have a conversation with them. We might make an introduction so we can have a conversation on option 1 and then have them take a look at this report as well. So this is where I'm starting, Dave. We go deeper into this depending on which option they pick. And then I use this one more time in regards to locking the rate.
So 1, if you would share this, and 2, so anybody watch this on YouTube, we'll have a link to this actual example. And I look at this as like a mortgage review where we could do a payment reduction and then 2 term reductions, fixed term reductions, and then a cash out that could be a debt consol. And so you're really just giving them some options. And with rates coming down, I want to give you some options to see which direction you'd like to go. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. The other thing, Dave, the reason why I put option 4, I try to just time this, the $700 a month savings, if we were to pull $50,000 out, it keeps their payment approximately the same. Obviously, I
Yeah,
could go a
no, I
little
caught
higher.
that.
I just
I caught
use,
that.
yeah, I just use a round number. And so this also gives people an idea, hey, would $50,000 be helpful to pay off a car? Or, you know, if they bought a car in the last few years with an 8% rate or whatever. So I just think it's great one perspective, because I don't think it's like us assuming that a first-time homebuyer knows their options, or a first-time homebuyer understands that there's a 1-0, 1-1, a 2-1 buy down. Until we have these options in front of them, they're like, oh, wow, like actually this one makes a lot more sense than the other. I think
Got it.
I don't think you can call yourself an advisor if you're not given options and then advising around each one of those options as well.
Love it. So I want to, before I go, Cooley, you're going to be up to bat with Dan in just a few minutes. You know, I want to make sure everyone, you know, I'm going to demo our loan officer app by Trust Engine. But as I demo it, I mean, obviously I would love to see more lenders using it. So if you're a loan officer, tell your manager, you know, if they're a mortgage coach client, it's really easy to get this activated at your company. But as I show you this app, I want to just share some best practices that I highly recommend you guys start implementing. If I can actually share my app. Let me plug it in one more time. But first of all, make sure all of your customers, you know what their target rate is, whether it's in your database, you know what that target rate is for folks. Here we go. So one of the things that we do, we call it the Trust Engine platform. Mortgage Coach is built into it. So if you already have Mortgage Coach is built into this, is we're monitoring all the database that you have through your company for eligibility, who's eligible to refinance or purchase, and propensity, who's most likely to be in the money right now. So obviously, if someone's running a mortgage inquiry, which we're starting to see those happen, that's there. Move ups, realtors love it. The fact that we're monitoring for move ups, for people that might want to move down. But you're going to start seeing more of these rate and term eligible refis. And Cooley, I'm going to ask you for scripting on this in a minute, because one of the things we did is we built in scripting into this so that it's really easy to email the consumer, text the consumer, or call the consumer. And we have scripts, you know, what to say when you call a consumer, what to say when you text a consumer. Really easy to copy that script and hit text. So Dan, we could, like if you had a client concierge, this is something that they could have, just making it easy. And then again, it integrates with Mortgage Coach. It's got all the data you need to have an effective conversation with that client, all on your mobile phone. So before I jump, I would really love to hear both of you, if you were training someone. Well, first of all, let me ask you in this sequence. Dan, would you rather have your client concierge call, text, or email? Which contact point would you want to use?
Well, I would say, I'm going to say text, because I've tested this in my business. You know, I was the coach that I'm in a coaching program, and they teach calls, and I believe in calls. Don't get me wrong. But when you're calling past clients, what I have found out is the text message and what you say via that text message will generate the phone call. So I think the text feature, if you're saying the right
So
thing,
you like that text? And
yeah.
what would be the gist of a Dan Keller text on a rate and term refi? What might be that quick, down and dirty, let's get a conversation going?
I just pulled a report. I like to use active. So I'm sitting here looking at a report on your home. It looks like you're sitting on $400,000 in equity. And I ran a savings report for you, and it looks like I can save you $700 a month. But before we do that, I want to talk with you about a strategy and set up the call. Send them the link to my Calendly, or when do you have 2 to 3 minutes to discuss this?
Yeah.
But I think you've got to use the word strategy, opportunity, and you've got to show them. And then you got to let them know that you're in their file. I'm in your file right now. I created a report. I'd love to send this to you, but before I send it to you, I think you need to put some urgency around it too.
Yeah. And just to add, in the Jeremy Daniel call, it was very similar to what Dan said, although I think they said, hey, we'd like to save $700 a month, or they'd already created the mortgage coach, and they knew what the savings was over time, or $120,000 over time. And they were basically showing the prepay. Like, hey, what if we took the refi to 700, prepaid it? How much would you save? So guys, make a note on that. Chad, what would you recommend? Text, call, email?
I would do the text too, because I like to bring those calls to the surface. You know what I mean? And obviously, if there's a way to make the calls more incoming, right? And to command people messaging you back and putting their hand up and saying, hey, like, I'm interested in this, and then I'm going to make that phone call, obviously. So I would prefer the text as well. I don't know exactly what your call feature does. Does it just give you the option to call with a script, or does it literally have the conversation
It dials
for you
the phone number.
highlight the phone?
Yeah, those are action buttons. So it's literally going to dial the phone or pull up an email using whatever system that mobile app has.
Yeah, so let me answer that question again now that I know what it is. To me, the phone call is always the priority, you know? It actually depends on the priorities in your business. Like, Dan's a busy guy. He's also running 2 mortgage companies right now, and he's got, you know, his time's a big. If your priority is, I need business right now and I need some deals right now, hit that call button and make that phone call. In fact, take an hour, 2 hours of your schedule and prioritize the phone calls, and then do the other things to bring those other deals forward while you're doing that. I mean, for maximum efficiency, I would say. But I'm always king with the conversation, you know?
Yeah. And remember, Dan got a big database. He's doing 10 plus loans. He's, you know, has a leadership role with 80 plus loan officers. Any loan officer on this call that's doing less than 10 loans a month, call, text, email, like, make this your number one priority. Patrick, this is what's called the Trust Engine app. So for all enterprise clients if you just have Mortgage Coach, let your corporate team know that you want the Trust Engine Loan Officer app, and we'll schedule a demo to do that. Also, before I leave, I'll put a link where it's an interactive web link that you can actually play with this app on a website and request a demo. So I'll put that link in here as I go. Anyways, Dan, anything else you want to say on that, Dan, before you and you guys start training for getting realtor meetings?
I think to button that up, you got to be in a relationship with people, because if you're not in a relationship with them, you text them, it's spam. If you're in a relationship with them and you text them, you get back to them, right? So that's the other thing. If you're not in a relationship with them, just go straight to the phone. You know, I'd piggyback on what Cooley said. If Cooley texts me, I text him back. If Cooley's like, hey, dude, I just saw something I got to show you, I'm going to call him back. I'm going to text him back and say, cool, when do you want to jump on a phone? If I don't know Cooley and he says that, be a little bit different. But if he direct called me and picked up and introduced himself, told me what he had to offer, what he wanted to show me, it'd be a different thing. So
yeah,
I think context is important there.
It's the levels, right? Where you're at.
Yeah. And guys, just to see this, I put a link in chat. If you literally click on it, you know, as you go through it, you can click through and play with the app as you go. Just click through it. And then if you want a demo, click on one of these demo buttons. Remember, this is an enterprise only offering. We need 50 plus loan officers at companies that use it. So it's not an individual loan officer offering. All right, Dan, ball's in your court, brother. Let's do some role playing, and I'm going to jump into another webinar. Be sure to keep an eye out. This webinar I'm going to do is for executives around top 3 customer trends and some of the new rule changes. So it'll be on our YouTube channel tomorrow.
No problem, Dave. Yeah, I'll jump into chat and we'll answer a couple of these questions as well. And then at the end, I'll put up a link if you're interested in jumping into Chad Cooley's role play and 60-day burn. I'll put a link at the very end where you can sign up for that. But let's grab a couple of these questions real quick, Chad, before we move on.
Sure.
This is a good one. What if you're new and you have no database of clients yet? How do you go out and get clients? Ooh, that's a good one. Chad, I'll let you answer that. No database. How do you go out and get clients to refinance now?
So I love that question, you know, and it's are you looking for clients to refinance now, or are you looking to just create some business for yourself? Right now, if you've got no business, is your priority the refinance, or is your priority like, how do I go out there and create business regardless of whether it's a purchase or refi, right? And so what I would focus on if I were you is, man, there's such a huge need. When you guys talk about like all the loan officers are now focusing on refi, it's like you have to understand that there's a big void in the real estate industry as well, which is agents don't know how to create business. Think about the database full of clients that real estate agents have right now who have been waiting to do anything, waiting to purchase until rates went down, right? The question becomes, can that agent have that conversation? Does your agent know what to say to that client to get them to turn them into a purchase now? And the answer is always no. So if I were you, I'd get really good at having that conversation. I would go after real estate agents and ask them that powerful conversation. Dan, how many people do you have in your database right now that have been waiting to do something because of interest rates over the past 2 years? How many do you have, right? What are you saying to those clients right now? Dan, if I could show you a way to turn those clients who have been waiting into actual buyers right now, then it sounds to me like that would make sense for you, and it would give you a boost in production, right? It's if you can lead with your value instead of like scrambling around trying to say, how do I get more refi business? Set yourself up for the long term now. And the cool thing is, like, it's purchases aren't later business, they're right now if you can master the conversation and get access to that. So that would be my recommendation for you. Otherwise, you can generate data, start calling neighborhoods, asking them what their rate is, and have it, and hopefully you have a nice script to find out exactly where they're at financially.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Cooley. Kamari, if you don't have a database, another place where you can go for refinances is financial planners and CPAs. Financial planners and CPAs just go out and use basically the same exact script that Chad just said, with financial planners, with CPAs. And ask them point blank, do they have a mortgage professional that they're currently recommending? I shoot straight. I don't want to waste a bunch of time. So if I talk to a financial planner or a CPA, if you had a client that needed a mortgage refinance right now, who would you recommend they talk to? And they're going to tell you. The cool thing is, I think the deck's stacked in your favor. They're going to say only 3 things. They're going to say someone that they recommend. They're going to say, I don't know, probably you because you're calling me. Or they're going to say, I don't know. Well, 2 out of those 3, you win. Right?
Yeah.
So it's an easy question. You know, if you needed to refer a client to go refinance their mortgage right now, it's the same thing with a divorce attorney, a CPA, a financial planner. Who would you recommend them to? And that's it. So we got one more question. I think I just saw it come in about, is that like asking for fence sitters from realtors? Yeah, Cooley, right? So someone that's sitting on the fence, right?
Yeah. 100%. And guys, I lead so many real estate agents, and they have just a database full of people who haven't been doing anything because of rates. And that's what we were working on the Breakfast Club on our role play this morning, is how to uncover the layers of why people are waiting and how to deliver everything that they want right now, regardless of interest rates. So, and our agents are really well supported. Dave Savage is at the Tom Ferry office, right? And Tom Ferry's got this huge coaching company because there's a void in our industry of actual coaching for real estate agents. So they've got all of these databases just being neglected right now. And the question is, can you be a valuable leader and call these agents, point out some problems, and offer them a solution that results in both of you guys making money right now?
Yeah, that's big. Last question, sorry. Whitney asked, can you repeat that question? The question is, if you needed to refer your client to refinance their mortgage right now, who would you recommend them to? Or if you had a client that needed to refinance their mortgage right now, who would you recommend them to? That's a divorce attorney, a CPA, a financial planner, an insurance agent, and they're going to say 1 of 3 things. Okay. How do you deal, this is a good Cooley question. How do you deal with purchase clients from 3 to 4 months ago who might be bombarded with refinance offers? In other words, how do you avoid an EPO? An EPO is a buyback. So how do you deal with clients? Let's say I funded, 50 mortgages in the last few months, and now all of a sudden they're getting spam mail. Chad, do you have a strategy or do you have a sequence around that?
So say that one more time, Dan, when you're talking about a purchase client from 3 months ago.
Yeah, so let's say you help people get into a house 3 months ago. Now all of a sudden they're getting refinance. They're getting refinance letters and refinance calls, spam from online lenders and discount brokers. How do you address that? How would you best advise a loan officer address that with their clients? Because we need to keep them in the mortgage for a minimum of 4 to 6 months, or we have to buy that mortgage back and forfeit our commission that we earned on that.
Got you. So the question that I would ask them is, are you looking to just save a little bit of money up front, or is your goal to be in the best financial position possible, not only now, but over the next 3 or 4 years? Do you want to just refinance now, or do you want to wait for the time when? Do you want to wait when the time is right for you and it makes the most sense for you financially, right? Dan, is your goal to save a little bit of money now, or is your goal to refinance the right time that's going to have the biggest payoff so that you're set and not refinancing every couple of months? That's the conversation that I'm going to have. And obviously, you give them a proposition that doesn't sound so good, right? Like, Dan, are you looking to save a little bit of money right now, or are you looking to refinance at the best possible time that has the highest rate of return for you, right? And then obviously you come up with a solution, which is, Dan, before you make any decisions or just decide to refinance, pay a bunch of fees only to do that a couple of months from now, let's sit down, go over exactly what your financial goals are, what we project the market to do in the next couple of months. That way we're refinancing at the right time and not just taking a carrot because it's dangled in front of our face, right? And I think that's probably the best way to have that conversation, is to offer it now, right? If your goal is to just refinance now, Dan, and save a little bit of money, like, I can refer you to people who can do that. It sounds to me like your goal is to make sure that you do it at the right time, where it has the maximum impact, Dan, and puts you in the best financial situation possible moving forward. So do you want to refinance and pay fees 3 or 4 times over the next several months, or do you want to do it at the right time where it makes the most sense for you and your family financially?
So all of you guys go back. This is recorded. Go back and watch that and recite that and learn that. And that's why this is a great transition into our closing, Chad. That's why I partnered up with Chad over a year ago, is he taught me how to have these conversations with realtors. You saw how everything was in sequence with what he said. When you know what to say and you know your value, you get people to move with you in the direction that you're moving. And so go ahead and listen to that back. Let's transition to real estate agents in the last 5 minutes, because that's what you do. You manage a big group of about 750 real estate agents. You coach them. You're their sales coach. Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you have some real estate agents that have been in the industry for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and they're taking 5 to 10 listings a month right now by joining your breakfast club in the morning. And so I'll show you guys how to connect with Chad and learn more about his breakfast club and what he's doing. But specifically what Chad's done for me as a mortgage professional, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to introduce him more into the mortgage industry, because he works so much with real estate agents. He knows what they want. He knows how we as mortgage professionals can add value to them, but he knows sales and he knows how to talk. He knows what to say. What can a mortgage loan officer do right now, Chad, to stay focused on purchase business, to stay focused on adding value to realtors, if they've not cold called or warm called a realtor before? What's your best advice for a real estate agent to make that call?
Yeah, and so some of you guys might feel a certain way about what I'm about to say, and the answer to it is, like, you've got to stop being a coward. You know what I mean? The one thing that I've noticed about lenders, especially today, is they're afraid to take a leadership role in their business and for real estate agents, right? And what makes a coward? Like, I'm a coward too, guys. If I was going to war and somebody just gave me a toilet plunger, you know what I mean? I'd be a coward too. So it's all about, number one, what value can you bring to the table? You know what I mean? And do you believe in the value that you have? Are you armed and dangerous to go to war and start leading real estate agents? And if you have, number one, the tools and resources to offer people that's actually valuable, and number two, you know what to say, well, then you're not such a coward anymore. And rather than not make the phone calls or be inconsistent with making the phone calls, you can't wait to make the phone calls because you know that you're going to have impact. Dan, we just did a coaching series, and one agent in your office, like our whole coaching premise was, how do we give you such an undeniable value proposition where you can just go out there and create the business for the agents, and the agents are out there just being lead generation machines for you and giving you that business, right? One of the agents in your office, Dan, started running with that value proposition, got our agents 7 listings in the first 45 days, right? And he's been referred 4 deals back since then, 4 mortgage deals back since then. And now he's not afraid to go out there and just have the conversations with real estate agents, which is, hey, Dan, are you in a position right now where you're looking to take on more business? Awesome. If I can show you a way, Dan, to take on a lot more business over the course of the next 30 days, put you in a position where you're converting a lot more, then it sounds to me like that's what your primary goal in business is right now, right? And if you have the confidence of that value that you can actually deliver on that, then it's, look out, I'm coming and I'm going to start taking over a marketplace. And it's hard to compete, guys, with a lot of really established people. When you talk about like Dan Keller, it's like you versus Dan Keller is a very difficult proposition, right? But if you work on the things that like a Dan Keller is not willing to do, doesn't have time to do, then you're going to put yourself in a position where you start chipping away at that market share and getting greedy with your clients. And so I forgot your question, Dan, because I get really passionate about this stuff, but it's like, we got to take a leadership role, guys. And a leadership role means where's the missing piece? How can I fill that? And am I afraid to make the phone call to offer them the solution? If you can master that, man, this whole process becomes really easy and it's not an issue for you anymore.
Yeah. My wife and I were talking about this the other day. We were on a parenting podcast, and we were talking about how to build confidence in your kids. And Jenny and I we both unanimously agreed on this, that competence builds self-confidence.
Yeah.
So competence builds self-image, right? So the fact that you learn a new task, you learn a new skill, all of that builds your confidence to then go out and make better calls or have a better business. And so you answered the call perfectly, Chad. What Chad said was, number one, you've got to know your value proposition. Number one, you've got to know why you're valuable to realtors. Mortgage Coach community has helped with that. The program that Chad and I are going to run, a 60-day burn in October. That program will help you identify your value proposition. Number two, what that will do when you have your value proposition, you've got to know what to say. You've got to know how to articulate. This is the problem that realtors have right now with the NAR settlement. They all think they're good real estate agents. They're all good, but they don't know how to articulate what they do to buyers, how they help buyers, and how they're worth the 3%, right? So understanding your value proposition and then articulating that and saying the right words in sequence to that real estate agent, for that real estate agent to say, yeah, you know what, Dan, I'll meet with you.
Yeah.
And then when you meet with them, you show them exactly what Chad just said. Here's how I'm going to help you generate more business. We leverage technology when you get a listing to send a message out to all the homeowners in the community on your behalf. So what if we did that for you and we generated 2 listings as a result of our activity? Would you be in a position, if those listings were to sell and buy somewhere else, to refer those people back to us? Yeah. And then now we have a conversation. But I'll tell you what, you start referring business to realtors, they're going to be loyal like that fast, right?
Yeah.
Instead of that 6-month or 1-year incubation period where you got to stop by and drop them off cookies and licorice and pop and take them to happy hour and lunch and all that stuff, cut straight to the chase. And that's what Chad has taught my team and my group at New American Funding. But he's also teaching that in our 60-day burn that we're going to roll out in October. So I'll put the link in the chat, and then on Facebook, I'll put the link in the comments. I know we got to wrap. It's 10 o'clock. You got any closing remarks, Cooley, before we wrap?
Yeah. Hey, guys, I'm a big fan of especially with work we've been doing, Dan, over the past year, of taking lenders who don't know how to create business, right? Who don't know how to create relationships with agents, and giving them those 2 skills, right? How would your life be different if you could be in a position where, number one, you can get an agent relationship when you want them, right? Number 2, you could create a mortgage deal when you want one. And number 3, how can I take the agents that I have and make sure that they're going out there and being productive and generating me business? It's not all, guys, about just giving them tools and resources, right? It's about how can I do some things for them that are really easy for me that result in them getting business, which results in me getting business. Also, just a quick tip for the loan officers on this call who are in that dilemma of refinancing versus focus on real estate agents. I want all of you guys to make sure that you reach out to all of your agents right now, okay? If you want that purchase business to still come in. And I want you to ask them that question, which is, how many people do you have right now in your database who have been on the fence because of interest rates over the past couple of years, right? And they're going to answer quite a bit, okay? Then instead of just asking them, do you know what to say? You've got to test competency, right? And if you test competency and it's not there, they're going to start looking to you towards leadership because you've got the competency. So what are you saying right now with interest rates dropping? What are you saying now to your clients to get them to turn into purchasing clients right now? And they're gonna, I don't really know. And if you have a script available for them, that's great. Now, your second problem is they're not going to do anything with that script unless you decide to take all of your lead generation tools, which are your agents, and put them to work. So set up some call sessions where you're actually prospecting with your agents, right? Prospect your refinance business, but also make it a Zoom session, power hour, where you gather all of your agents and you're like, today's a call session on Zoom. And the only thing that we're going to do is contact all of the buyers who have been on the fence. And you're going to start sending those to me right now. I'm going to teach you how to convert them. And I'm going to set aside the time where I'm giving you that accountability, where we are actually calling these people together, because I know you won't do it. 90% of the people who have been waiting over the past 2 years to do anything on the purchase side will continue to wait because agents don't act, right? If you can get them to act, you will generate business for yourself, and that will come full circle. So it's just a way to number one, recruit your real estate agents. Number two, give them some accountability and direction and lead them, because the funny thing about leadership is if you choose to lead, people will follow you. So that's what I got today, Dan.
All right. I love that. It's so good. If you want more of this with Chad Cooley, follow him on Instagram. His 729 culture over there is contagious. It's amazing. Instagram, Mr. Chad Cooley on Instagram. We've got the 60-day burn coming up. The link is in the chat. I'll post it in the group. Great call today, Chad. Thank you so much for giving your time and coming out today.
The 60-day burn, guys, as a loan officer will change your life. It'll teach you how to actually have value, how to reach out to a real estate agent, how to get them actually excited about working with you, not you begging for business and please do business with me. Give me a chance. I've got these loan programs. It's no, you're coming on board with me, right? I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you generate business, be better at your job. And in turn, you're going to refer business back to me, right? How great would it be if you had the ability to stop begging and get people excited about working with you? And that's what we're offering with that 60-day burn. And I hope to see all of you guys on there. Dan?
Awesome. Love it. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Paul. We'll see you, Mortgage Coach community. Bye for now.